Hello everybody, it's Dr. Pearlman, and today I want to talk about 3 things that you may not understand that you are doing that are contributing to a lot of sustained inflammation in your body. And we're not talking about you went to the gym, did a deadlift and your back hurts. We're not talking about you sprained your ankle. We're not even talking about you staring at the phone for 4 hours while you're watching TV and scrolling through Netflix and endless amounts of TikTok, which we all get sucked into some of the social media nonsense. But I'm talking about the reason you consistently might be nauseous, the reason you consistently might have a headache, the reason you consistently might have elbow pain, arm pain, wrist pain, knee pain, back pain, underlying pain, just constantly needing to take Advil for the rest of your days. And here we go. When it comes to dietary intake, I don't think people who suffer with potential autoimmune diseases or autoimmune-like symptoms understand that health is on a spectrum. And every disease that we have or we have a name for is on a spectrum, guys. I've said this before in videos, but I really want to hammer this down right now. From an injury, the severity of an injury, grade 1 sprain, grade 2 sprain, grade 3 sprain, those are on a spectrum. Not eating food, but having, lupus all the way to some symptoms that are associated with lupus or some symptoms that are associated with other type of autoimmune-like arthropathies, those are on a spectrum. And so what do I mean by this? The surprising foods that I want you to understand is sort of the reaction that happens when you eat them. Low calorie or low sugar, pumpkin oatmeal. I'm just throwing things out. Like the worst culprit is probably like a Health Naturals granola or something that you'll put in a yogurt, or even the Greek yogurt itself. These are refined foods, taking the nutrients out of the food and make it, less calorie, less sugar. And the problem is that without the actual raw, and not raw in the sense of like a raw vegetable or a raw fruit, because we'll get to that, but the actual food that's made, the way that like nature intended us for it to be eaten, it doesn't have the natural fiber. And if it doesn't have the natural fiber, it's harder for us not to digest, because remember, we don't digest fiber as living Homo sapiens and bipedal beings, okay, mammals that are bipedal human beings. We don't process. We actually don't necessarily even digest fiber the way that other mammals do, like cows. So here's the thing I want to really point out. When you're eating refined foods or foods that have had nutrition taken away, including if you want to look at just like the fiber from those foods, what ends up happening is that they're harder to digest, and then as a result, the blood sugar spikes up, right? And when the blood sugar spikes up, lots of insulin has to come from the pancreas and then make the blood sugar go down, and it has to be stored. You want your insulin to be utilized in the body appropriately to the muscles that need it. You don't want it to be stored as fat. I'm just going to tell you point blank, I think it's universally and widely, whichever term you want to use, accepted that high insulin levels lead to excess stored insulin in the body, leading to excess weight gain, leads to chronic disease of all kinds. So I want you to understand that you're driving a lot of inflammation anytime you eat something that you think is innocent or you think is low calorie. And in actuality, it's very hard for your body to digest, and it leads to a higher insulin surge and storage, okay? That's number one, especially if you're not exercising intentionally or at a high enough intensity. So number two, natural sweeteners that are found in various soft drinks and or even your favorite yogurts or your healthy snacks. Again, these sugars. Remember, when you're eating sugar-free, all it means is it's being replaced, especially if it has a nice sweet taste, okay? It's being replaced by something that's worse than sugar. And artificial sweeteners, unfortunately, are proven to be very tough on the GI, very hard to break down. In another related example, or related to everything that we just talked about with the sweeteners or the artificial sweeteners, is the fact that they're in a lot of oat milks, almond milks, coconut milks, or even what is perceived as the healthy daily starter protein shakes. And the problem isn't even necessarily if they're putting an artificial sweetener, depending on where you're getting it from, but it's actually the milk itself is dependent on sometimes oils that you don't realize that are in there. The carcinogen, that is pronounced, hopefully I say this right, carrageenan or carrageenan, that is a problem in a lot of these products. Now you can read the label and get one without it, but also sometimes you'll see natural flavors and we don't really know what exactly is going in there to make these nut milks possibly a little bit tastier or these oat milks a little tastier. And again, this is, whether you like it or not, this is a refined food that has been stripped of nutrients, has been given preservatives to stay fresh, and is something that is foreign to the body and could be causing underlying inflammation. But the last thing I want to talk about is the one that people just do not understand, and that is raw vegetables. Yes, that's right. You plant-based, vegan, whole vegan, raw vegan, wanna-be healthy people, I understand the confusion. I get it. You're looking at this green plate of delicious salad. It's going to keep you thin, because believe me, you can eat all the salad in the world, and what I can promise you is you won't be fat. But here's what I will guarantee. If you have the susceptibility or that predisposition to a kind of on a spectrum body reactivity in a negative way that creates inflammation, that causes your gut to, have a very hard time processing and creating pain, because pain is a signal, right? Pain, you could say, is part of inflammation, because inflammation is a signal to the body to go fight foreign invaders, to go heal some tissue, to signal to the body, hey, let's bring in these, white blood cells, let's bring in the rest of these, healing properties, increase the blood flow to these, organs, cells, glands, tissue that need it. And a lot of times you're eating your raw vegetables, your broccoli, your cabbage, your spinach, your whatever, and whether it's organic or not, you just don't know, because if it's been in contact with glyphosate in any manner that is, contaminating the food, that is a foreign pesticide, in your food that's made its way into your body, and that is a very big problem, let alone any of the bacterial strains that come along with, E. coli that you can catch in lettuce. I mean, if you watch any of the documentaries that are out there, this stuff exists. It exists for a reason. There's a word we use that's called goitrogenic, which refers to that it might actually interfere with the thyroid. So goitrogenic, interfering with thyroid function. There's a reason why a lot of women, I'm just going to tell you, ladies, whether you want to hear it or not, a lot of the thyroid problems that you experience isn't because of some hormone imbalance, okay? It is a lot of the time due to the fact that women, by and large, eat tons of vegetables to watch their nice girlish figures. I'm just telling you the truth. It's a societal thing, right? More women tend to eat fish, they tend to eat vegetables, they tend to eat salads, whereas men, right, we eat our burgers and fries and our steaks, and we want our steaks and our knives, and we're aggressive, and we eat the animals. But I'm just telling you, women, it's interesting how they have the higher rates of the thyroid dysfunction. So the question is, would you, knowing that you're maybe not feeling right, continue to eat raw vegetables, knowing now that it does actually interfere with thyroid health and thyroid function, and especially females that are, always diagnosed with subclinical low, hypothyroid, subclinical hypothyroidism. Oh, here's your levothyroxine, gold standard, right away. Oh, you'll be on this for the rest of your life? This is crazy to me. And then have, all the other effects that come along with being on medication. Covered, working backwards, again, raw vegetables, nut milk, oat milk, things of, the not traditional, dairy milks, which I'm not saying I'm an advocate for, artificial sweeteners, and, any kind of refined, grain, not to make that four things. But the reality is that's what's going on right now. And people are continuing to eat these foods thinking that they're healthy. And in reality, I'm sorry, everyone, they are probably the reason that you have this aggressive amount of inflammation, which again is on a spectrum. Like, do you have an autoimmune disease? I don't know. You might, but of course you're never going to know until you do the advanced labs. You have to start with your basic set of labs and then see if the markers are there and go to the next phase of labs. It's a process. Healthcare not only is a commitment of your time and, some resources, but it's going to, you have to not be, satisfied and just say it is what it is. And, I don't have any money or I don't have enough time. I'm sorry, guys. In reality, your health and time is all we have. And I think that the more you start to live life, and I don't mean sitting around watching Netflix, going to work 9 to 5, and then just hating it and saying you live, you pay bills, and you die, which is really depressing. But if you actually want to make the most out of the life you have, whatever that is to you, I know what it is to me. I know what it looks like to me. When you have the healthy habits that you want to do to be productive and you start putting it all together, these things matter. And I'm not going to sit back knowing that I could have given you a heads up and said, hey, look, these things might actually be causing some of the inflammation and, not say anything. So in closing, let's talk about a couple of things you can do about it. So let's just say this is you out there and you do know. All you have to do is look at yourself in the mirror and say, well, I ate, once or twice a week that granola, or I did have a salad, 3 other times. I did have, a frozen dinner. There's a lot of people that go at lunchtime because it's affordable, it's quick. They're prepackaged salads and they give you grilled chicken and they have the dressings and all this stuff. I don't know the name of it. They're all over DFW. I can promise you there is nothing fresh and nothing healthy about that salad except for the fact that it's lower calorie. Can you lose weight on it? Can you feel great on it? Sure. That just means spectrum of inflammation is, here for you, whereas somebody else who reacts poorly to it, maybe, way over here and on the other side of the spectrum where they're full blown feeling like they have an autoimmune disease. What can we do about it? Reality is you can start by making the choices to buy like local organic farmed foods. You can get the never touched by any antibiotic type of hens at the local markets. You can go to get organic grass-fed, grass-finished beef. That's one of the things that when I'm eating my best and I'm doing my best, and I'm a guy that is like, really someone that's on the total, like, oh my God, about to be full-blown autoimmune disease, pre-diabetic, about to become diabetic, spectrum, that's me when I don't eat the right things. So for me, when I eat grass-fed, grass-finished ground beef, the $8.99 a pack that you can get just about anywhere, 80-20 or 90-10, that's lean to fat ratio, and make sure that I'm eating that as many days of the week that I can, I do really well. Do I think that you'll do really well on it too? Very much likely. If you like the taste of it, if you can tolerate it, you cook it really well, like I think you're gonna do really good, and thrive with that as well. Last thing that I think that people should do is stop having those milks. You want something that's tasty, you go and get the organic heavy cream. Heavy cream is much easier on the stomach, despite what people think. Proteins, I should say, in dairy that make it very hard to digest, whereas opposed to heavy cream in small amounts because it's so thick and calorically dense, but does not have that kind of dairy and does not have the sugar content. It's more just fat concentrated, you'll do well on. In the beginning, it might be a little, giving you the runs. And I mean, we're talking about very little because you should be only having very little bits of heavy cream and then water it down with water, shake it up. I think that those are really, things that you can, implement, almost immediately that will be, giving you great success to reducing inflammation in, based off of the nutrition and or diet, if you want to call it that. And really, those are my recommendations here today, and just want to, again, giving you the heads up. Now, again, should you listen to me? I'm not saying you should. Am I your doctor? Absolutely not. But am I saying from personal experience, from clinical experience, then you have to think about the actual physiology of something and what's going on. Because I don't care if someone says, well, I can't have the willpower to do this, or if someone says, well, fat in your gallbladder, do that. No. It's what does the physiology say? And if we know that this, drives up, blood sugar and then can call for, absorbent amounts of insulin, then that's the obvious thing that could be causing a problem. If we know that this thing, it has, pesticides or is, in contact with something that can cause, bad, bacterial strains, then we know that culprit is that. And that's how we just have to think of it. We have to really narrow it down to something that's more commonsensical. You can leave it to people that have the education to be able to provide the information, but it should start making sense based off of, you cross-referencing it and you doing a little bit of the research and realizing that this indeed is the way it works in the human body. And that is why it is so imperative that I feel people know this. Buddy, thanks for tuning in. You can go down to the comments, you can leave a comment, you can share this with your friend, you can leave a like, all the stuff that YouTube likes. And until next time, it's Dr. Pearlman.